Muy buenas tardes.
Good afternoon, friends, ladies and gentlemen, and those who are watching us through the magic of the network. I welcome you. I'm going to tell you the story of someone who has suffered from the authoritarianism in Venezuela with the support of the people of Caracas in 2008 until December of this year. I have suffered a great deal. And then on the 17th of January, I suffered an attack by the government on my office. They broke down the door with sledgehammers, and they took possession of 13 buildings. The budget rose by 95%. According to an organic law, this wasn't enough. Then Chavez appointed someone who took on the powers that normally should be incumbent upon the mayor. And we went to the parliament to denounce all this and to save the people's sovereignty. But they set the commando groups against us. Financial asphyxia began to set in. There was no way to pay the employees of City Hall. So we decided to start a hunger start on July 3rd, 2009. And after this hunger strike, we started to understand that the decentralization process was being strangled and that we were losing the rule of law, that there was an attack of the rule of law. There was an attack on the sovereignty of the people. But I was reelected despite all these difficulties in December of 2013. And a few days after having been elected by 60,000 votes in the city, Mr. Villegas, who had been overcome in the elections before, was given a political position by the government. The institutions have been abducted by the regime. There's financial hemorrhages. The courts are being used to allow people to be shot. And people were not allowed to speak anymore, so we went to the streets. This is in January of 2014 with the support of many victims of the political attitude of the country. We took to the streets and we wrote a document that we called the Document for Transition. But they persecuted us. They caught us. They put us in prison. On the 19th of January of 2015 at 5:20 in the afternoon, a troop of people came with more than 100 men, part of the state security group, to attack my office. They didn't show an arrest warrant or any order that would allow them to arrest me. They came into the office and they beat down the doors and they took me away. They pulled me out of my office and they made me disappear for 6 or 7 hours. And there was a hearing the next day, the only hearing that I had in more than 1,000 days, that I was submitted to unjust oppression once. And they gave false evidence. And they sentenced me to 26 years of prison for supposed aim of trying to overthrow the government. And they took me in June to the military prison. And they persecuted my wife and my daughters including Antonietta, who came here to speak last year before I decided to escape, as I said on the 17th of November of 2017, so that I would reach freedom. The freedom taken away from me by Maduro. But I don't want to speak about me. It's not important what happened to me or to my family only. What counts is what is happening to more than 30 million Venezuelans today. We've heard these speeches for 70 years about defense of human rights. 70 years. And in these 70 years, we should point out that there is a paradox, that there is a government that has systematically violated and massively violated human rights of Venezuela, is now occupying a seat in the Security Council and in the Human Rights Council of the United Nations. And I will not feel free, although I am free now, until Mr. Lopez, Leopoldo Lopez, Simanovi, and other people are free too. I will not feel free until they are not free, and the young people who are now imprisoned. I will not feel free or calm until justice is done, until the long claw of the long hand of the international justice captures the people who are destroying the public institutions of my country. Friends, I am speaking to you from my heart. My heart is throbbing. I suffer from nostalgia for my country. This country is experiencing martyrdom. In the last few years, more than 300,000 fellow Venezuelans have died because of malnutrition as well, that kills children, that is leading to famine because people don't have enough proteins and calories per day. And I feel great pain to know that the richest country in petrol in the world, in oil in the world, cannot come up with medicine to help people who are ill, who are seropositive, who have cancer, or help the elderly, people with high blood pressure problems. They don't have medicine. People who have respiratory problems don't have the medicine that they need. And I'm speaking on behalf of a people that today is calling for solidarity from the international community, that we must follow the example of the dignified people who helped Colombia, as Mr. Almagro spoke to us about today. And I'm asking for a real solidarity so that we can move from diplomacy that is just an expression to real diplomacy that is effective. And here in this hall, we are asking for help. Venezuela is asking for solidarity of the United Nations organizations, of the European Union, of the OAS, organizations defending human rights, because we are under siege in Venezuela. People say, you are asking for military help? We are asking for people to save the 30,000 of our citizens that have been abducted by this regime. Friends, everything is not yet lost. Venezuela is strong despite its difficulties. We have talented people. We have natural resources. And we must end this dictatorship so we can enter a time of progress, so that we will see the great country that Simon Bolivar described. We must say to the world with words that count. Those who don't do anything when murder is committed are also complicit. So look at Venezuela and see how innocent civilians are dying. And these citizens are expecting a great deal from each and every one of us. So to conclude, I would say that what we are doing now is necessary, and if we don't do it, there will never be freedom. So, arriba Venezuela, long live Venezuela, long live Venezuelan democracy.
Gracias. Gracias.